It's week 4 of the CAL, and this week we're crocheting the sleeves. Welcome to week 4. We're going to crochet the sleeves today. We make the sleeves in a very similar way to the front and back panels, with a small difference which you can see here at the bottom in how the sleeve bulges out at the bottom. So to get started, grab your smaller crochet hook again. For me, that's a 5mm hook, and you'll need your double strand of yarn. Tie a slip knot and you're ready to crochet the rib border. What's different for the sleeve ribbing is that we only chain 7 stitches instead of 9 as we did on the other panels. This means that the sleeve ribbing is slightly narrower. That's 7 chain stitches, and I work 6 single crochets back. Then chain 1 to turn, and just as you did for the front and back panels, work your single crochets from this point in the back loops only, and do so in all your rows from this point on. I've now crocheted 36 rows, and this is going to be different for everyone. What you want to do is to keep trying it on until it fits comfortably around your hand. So once the strip fits comfortably around your hand as a cuff or bracelet would, then you're ready to move on to the next step. The length will depend entirely on the size of your arm and hand. So if you have smaller hands, it will be a smaller cuff. Larger hands means a larger cuff. And you want the sleeves to slip on and off easily, so don't make it too small. The next step is similar to what you did the previous 2 weeks for the front and back panels. So you chain 1 at the end of your last row, and then swap to the larger crochet hook. Rotate your work a quarter turn, and then you're ready to crochet into the side of the ribbing. But as I showed you before, the sleeve flares out a bit like this here at the bottom, and that's because whereas before we just worked 1 single crochet in the side of each row of the ribbing, this time we're going to alternate, working 1 stitch in the first row, 2 stitches in the next, 1 stitch in the next one, and 2 stitches in the following. We're basically increasing in this first row in the side of the cuff. It doesn't matter how many rows your ribbing has, or whether it's an odd or even number of rows. All that matters is that you keep alternating 1, 2, 1, 2 stitches across the whole row. And at the end of the ribbing, count up how many stitches you have made in this row, and that has to be an odd number. If it happens that you end up with an even number of stitches, either add 1 or remove 1 to get the uneven number. Let me show you. So insert in here and work 1 single crochet, and then in the next row, work 2 single crochets. And in the next row, work 1 single crochet, and then 2 single crochets in the side of the next. As you continue crocheting this row, you'll notice that your work starts to curve into a crescent-like shape, and that means you're doing it right. You can even see it here already that it's starting to stretch around, and that's perfect. This will become the bold shape at the bottom of your sleeves when they're finished. Now, once you've finished your row of single crochet, then you're going to continue in the same way as you did for the front and back panels. So you need 4 rows here in color 2, 1 row in color 3, 2 rows in color 2, 2 rows in color 3, and so on. The only difference is in the number of rows in the main color that you do in this final section. You will end up with fewer rows than you did for the body. Consult the pattern. You should work a total of 12 rows here. If you have exceptionally long arms, you may need a few extra, but in most cases 12 rows is plenty. Go ahead and try the sleeve on by draping it over your arm. If the sleeve reaches all the way to the top of your shoulder, then the sleeve is probably a bit too long. And if it's much lower than your armpit, then you need 1 or 2 more rows. But for most people, this should really be plenty. Once you've finished crocheting your sleeves, fasten off and leave a nice long tail attached at the top. You'll need to sew the sleeves onto the body when we come to seam up the cardigan. And that's your sleeve done. And it has a lovely bulge here at the bottom, and you don't need to do anything else to shape it. If you have some spare time once you've crocheted both sleeves, go ahead and weave in all those ends down the sides. And I'll see you next week when we'll put everything together. And that's week 4 done and dusted. Join us next week to finish the cardigan.